March 15, 1944, Paderborn, Germany. Oberst Heinrich Müller unfolded the intelligence report across the mahogany table, his iron cross catching lamplight. His face twisted with contempt as he studied the American production figures. "Look at this," Müller said, tossing the document toward his subordinates. "The Americans claim they're producing 500 of these Sherman tanks weekly." Major Klaus Werner leaned forward, nodding his agreement. "Impossible propaganda, Herr Oberst. No nation could maintain such ridiculous output." Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich, chief intelligence analyst for Panzer Group West, adjusted his spectacles and cleared his throat. "Herr Oberst, our sources in Switzerland confirm these numbers. We should consider the implications." But Müller waved him off. "Dietrich, we've destroyed their armor at Kasserine Pass. One Tiger eliminated 7 of their Shermans before breakfast. At Villers-Bocage, Whitman destroyed 25 Allied tanks in 15 minutes. At Kursk, our Panthers achieved kill ratios of 8-1. The mathematics were undeniable. German engineering superiority would decide this war, not American factory capacity. What Müller didn't know, what none of them could have known as they dismissed the intelligence reports in that warmly lit headquarters, was that American production capacity would place 10 Sherman tanks against every Panzer within 8 months. The numbers would become crushing: 50,000 M4 Shermans produced, 4,000 total German Panthers and Tigers combined. By war's end, Americans would field 20 Shermans for every German heavy tank. The confident dismissal in that Paderborn headquarters would become history's most expensive miscalculation, measured in 380,000 German armored personnel killed or captured. At Normandy's Bocage country, Oberst Müller commanded Panzer Regiment 130, equipped with 42 Panther tanks. His combat record included 127 confirmed Allied tank kills across North Africa and the Eastern Front. Each Panther in his regiment mounted an 88mm gun capable of penetrating Sherman armor at 2,000 meters. The M4 Sherman's 75mm gun required closing to 500 meters for frontal penetration of Panther armor. At Villers-Bocage on June 13, 1943, SS Obersturmführer Michael Whitman had destroyed 25 Allied tanks, 14 half-tracks, and 14 Bren carriers in 15 minutes of combat. His Tiger tank's 88mm gun had methodically eliminated British armor that couldn't penetrate his frontal armor even at point-blank range. At Kursk, Panther tanks achieved documented kill ratios averaging 7.8 enemy tanks destroyed per German loss. The Panther's sloped armor, superior optics, and devastating main gun created a technical advantage that seemed insurmountable. At Kasserine Pass in February 1943, German armor had mauled American forces, destroying 183 tanks while losing only 20 Panzers. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Major Klaus Werner, Müller's executive officer, had commanded a company at Kasserine. He personally witnessed 7 M4 Shermans burning across the Tunisian hills while his single Panzer IV remained operational. The American tanks had advanced in linear formations, their 75mm shells bouncing harmlessly off German armor at 1,200 meters. Werner's gunner had methodically destroyed each Sherman with single shots, the engagement lasting 11 minutes from first contact to final kill. The Americans fought bravely but uselessly, their inadequate equipment ensuring their defeat before the first shot was fired. Werner believed absolutely in German technical superiority. His combat experience confirmed what the specifications promised. 1 German tank equaled 5 American tanks. The production numbers Dietrich kept mentioning were irrelevant if American tanks couldn't penetrate German armor. Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich studied intelligence from multiple sources. Swiss observers reported continuous American factory expansion. British intelligence confirmed massive Sherman production at 11 primary facilities. Aerial reconnaissance showed American tank parks holding thousands of vehicles awaiting shipment. Dietrich compiled production estimates. America was manufacturing 1,500 Sherman tanks monthly by early 1944. Germany's entire 1943 Panther production totaled 1,768 units. A single American month exceeded Germany's annual production of heavy tanks. Dietrich presented these findings weekly. Müller dismissed them weekly. "Numbers without quality are meaningless," Müller insisted. "1 Panther destroys 10 Shermans. Their production advantage becomes our target-rich environment." Dietrich stopped arguing but continued documenting the data. The mathematics were becoming terrifying. Feldwebel Otto Schmidt commanded a Panther tank in Müller's regiment. He had fought at Kursk, where his crew destroyed 9 Soviet tanks in one engagement without sustaining damage. The Soviet tanks, technically superior to American Shermans, had been systematically eliminated at ranges exceeding 1,500 meters. Schmidt's gunner could hit moving targets at 2,000 meters with first-round accuracy. Their Zeiss optics provided clarity American tankers couldn't match. Schmidt observed American armor tactics in Italy through combat reports. The Americans attacked in overwhelming numbers, accepting catastrophic losses to achieve local superiority. But accepting losses required endless replacements. Schmidt considered this impossible. Germany manufactured approximately 6,000 Panther and Tiger tanks total during the entire war. America couldn't possibly sustain the replacement rates combat reports suggested. The numbers had to be exaggerated. His experience proved German armor's supremacy. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Detroit, Michigan, January 1942. William Knudsen surveyed the Chrysler tank arsenal floor from the executive observation deck. This single facility produced 17 M4 Sherman tanks daily. Every 8 hours, another 40-ton medium tank rolled off the line toward the proving grounds. Knudsen, former General Motors president and now director of the Office of Production Management, had transformed American industrial capacity into a military production juggernaut that would ultimately manufacture weapons exceeding the combined output of Germany, Japan, and Italy. In January 1941, America produced just 84 medium tanks monthly across all facilities. By July 1942, production reached 1,249 M4 Shermans monthly. By December 1943, the Detroit tank arsenal alone was producing 456 Sherman tanks monthly. This single facility was producing more medium tanks than Germany's entire tank industry produced heavy tanks annually. The Chrysler tank arsenal occupied 113 acres under roof, employed 25,000 workers across 3 shifts, and operated 24 hours daily, 7 days weekly. The assembly line stretched 1,020 feet, with tanks advancing through 97 workstations. Each station performed specific operations. Turret mounting required 42 minutes, engine installation required 38 minutes, track installation required 67 minutes. The process achieved industrial efficiency that German tank production, relying on skilled craftsmen hand-fitting components, could never match. Rose Monroe, previously a waitress from Pulaski County, Kentucky, now operated a riveting pneumatic hammer on the hull assembly line, installing 847 rivets per 8-hour shift. Her daily output secured armor plating for 4 complete Sherman hulls. She produced more armored hull sections in 1 shift than the entire Henschel Tiger production facility in Kassel completed weekly. Rose worked alongside 9,400 other women at the Detroit Arsenal, comprising 37% of the facility's workforce. They operated lathes, presses, welding equipment, and assembly machinery, manufacturing components with precision measured in thousandths of an inch. German factories, depleting their skilled male workforce on 2 fronts, couldn't replace experienced craftsmen with rapidly trained workers. American production processes, engineered for semi-skilled operators, converted housewives into tank builders within 6 weeks of training. Rose earned $1.20 hourly, purchased war bonds from her paycheck, and produced weapons that would break the Wehrmacht across France. Her riveting hammer, operated by a former waitress, drove more steel into German armor than any Panzer commander's 88 gun. James Crawford from Birmingham, Alabama, operated the final drive assembly station, installing transmissions, drive sprockets, and track systems. His single station's daily output of 17 complete drive systems exceeded the entire Daimler-Benz Panther production facility's weekly output of 12 Panthers. Crawford had worked as a sharecropper before the war, earning $312 annually. Now he earned $2,080 annually building tanks, owned a 1941 Chevrolet, and rented a 3-bedroom house. His expertise, gained through 8 weeks of training, installed drive systems with reliability exceeding German handcrafted equivalents. The Detroit Arsenal achieved 0.3% defect rates in final inspection. German facilities, rushing production under Allied bombing, experienced 8-12% rejection rates. Crawford's station, operated by a former sharecropper with 2 months' training, outproduced facilities staffed by German engineering graduates. The American system transformed agriculture workers into precision manufacturers, while German factories struggled to maintain output with depleting skilled labor. Charles Wilson, $1-a-year man from General Electric, managed electrical systems integration across all American tank production. His logistics coordination ensured 437 electrical components per Sherman arrived synchronized with hull assembly. Wilson's procurement system ordered 48,000 electrical harnesses monthly, stockpiled 90 days forward inventory, and maintained quality control preventing battlefield electrical failures. German procurement, fragmented across competing agencies, struggled to deliver components consistently. American electrical systems, designed for field maintenance by semi-skilled mechanics, use standardized components interchangeable across vehicle types. German electrical systems, engineered to exacting specifications, required specialized parts unavailable in forward areas. Wilson's management, applied across 11 American tank production facilities, created standardized manufacturing generating economies of scale impossible in German craft production. Americans discarded 847 pounds of aluminum shavings daily at the Detroit arsenal. Germany allocated 12 pounds of aluminum monthly per tank factory for non-critical components. The scrap metal from a single American shift, swept into bins and recycled, exceeded Germany's monthly aluminum allocation for Panther auxiliary systems. Workers threw away defective armor plates that failed quality inspection. Germany salvaged every plate regardless of metallurgical flaws, welding reinforcement patches over weak points. American quality control rejected 0.8% of armor plates for microscopic stress fractures. German factories, desperate for production, accepted plates Americans would discard. The waste from Detroit's quality control exceeded the total production of some German satellite facilities. Workers threw away fasteners that didn't meet torque specifications. Germany rationed fasteners by the gram, requiring engineers to calculate minimum bolt requirements. The cafeteria discarded more meat daily than German tank crews received in weekly rations. Workers ate steak, roast beef, and pork chops while German tankers subsisted on black bread and ersatz coffee. The electrical wire scrap from one day's production, discarded as too short for efficient use, could have wired Germany's entire monthly Tiger production. Americans operated in abundance. Germans operated in scarcity. This fundamental economic reality would decide armored warfare before the first shot was fired. Hauptmann Dietrich visited the intelligence section at OKW headquarters in Berlin, presenting his compiled data on American production. Colonel Friedrich von Weber reviewed the estimates with growing concern. If these numbers are accurate, Dietrich, we face 20 American tanks for every Panzer by mid-1944. Dietrich spread production charts across the desk. Herr Oberst, the numbers are conservative. American factory expansion continues. They're building additional facilities in Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Each facility will produce 300-500 tanks monthly. Von Weber studied the projections, then locked them in his safe. This information stays classified, Hauptmann. Troop morale cannot sustain the implications. Dietrich saluted and departed, knowing his warnings would be ignored. The mathematics were becoming apocalyptic, but German command refused to accept that quantity could overwhelm quality. Production capacity, not battlefield prowess, would determine victory. June 8, 1944, Villers-Bocage, France, 8:47 hours. Feldwebel Otto Schmidt was performing routine morning maintenance on his Panther tank when the hedgerow 300 meters north erupted with movement. He saw the first Sherman M4 emerge onto the dirt road, its 75mm gun traversing left. At 0847:15, Schmidt's crew was mounting their tank. At 0847:43, they achieved combat readiness, engine running, main gun loaded with armor-piercing ammunition. The American Sherman advanced cautiously, turret scanning for targets. Schmidt's gunner acquired the target at 0848:02, fired at 0848:07, impacted the Sherman's frontal armor at 0848:09. Elapsed time from target acquisition to destruction, 7 seconds. Kill time from first shot, 2 seconds. The Sherman erupted in flames, its ammunition cooking off with secondary explosions visible through the commander's optics. A second Sherman emerged at 0848:31, firing immediately toward Schmidt's position. The 75mm shell impacted the road surface 12 meters short, ricocheting harmlessly. Schmidt's gunner fired at 0848:35, striking the Sherman's turret ring at 0848:37. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 6 seconds. Kill time, 2 seconds. The Sherman's turret flew 15 feet from the hull, ejected by internal ammunition explosion. At 084912, a third Sherman appeared, attempting to flank through an adjacent field. Schmidt's loader had the next round chambered. The gunner fired at 084919, impacted at 084921. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 9 seconds. Kill time, 2 seconds. 3 American tanks destroyed in 2 minutes 7 seconds. Schmidt's Panther remained undamaged. At 085100, 4 more Shermans advanced in line formation. Schmidt's Panther engaged the lead tank at 085108, destroyed it at 085110. Kill time, 2 seconds. The second Sherman fired, missing high. Schmidt's gunner destroyed it at 085124. Kill time, 2 seconds. The third Sherman reversed frantically, presenting its thinner rear armor. Destroyed at 085141. Kill time, 2 seconds. The fourth Sherman achieved defilade behind a stone wall. Schmidt's gunner waited 17 seconds until the Sherman attempted to reposition, then fired at 085204. The armor-piercing round penetrated the stone wall and the Sherman's hull. Kill time, 2 seconds. 7 American tanks destroyed. Combat duration, 4 minutes 17 seconds. Total engagement duration, 4 minutes 17 seconds. Enemy losses, 7 M4 Sherman tanks, 14 American crew killed, 7 wounded. German losses, 0. Kill ratio, 7-0. Average kill time per target, 2.4 seconds. The ammunition expended in this 4-minute engagement exceeded the monthly allocation for an entire German tank company. Schmidt's Panther had fired 788 armor-piercing rounds. American forces at that sector possessed adequate ammunition to fire 7 rounds per tank, per engagement, continuously for 6 months of combat operations. The mathematics of ammunition logistics alone demonstrated American material superiority. Germany allocated 120 rounds per Panther monthly for combat operations. Americans stockpiled 500 rounds per Sherman before the vehicle shipped to Europe, with continuous resupply maintaining that level. Schmidt could destroy 7 Shermans, but faced an enemy that could replace those losses within 48 hours and sustain combat operations through ammunition abundance German logistics couldn't match. Oberst Müller received Schmidt's after-action report at regimental headquarters. 7 Shermans destroyed, 0 losses, textbook engagement demonstrating Panther superiority. This confirms our tactical doctrine, Müller announced to his staff. Technical superiority defeats numerical advantage. Schmidt's crew validated everything. Major Werner agreed enthusiastically. 1 Panther versus 7 Shermans. The Americans must lose 14 tanks to destroy one of ours. The mathematics favor us decisively. Müller filed the report as evidence of German armor supremacy, noting Schmidt for commendation. What neither Müller nor Werner acknowledged was the tactical implication buried in the engagement details. The Americans attacked with 7 tanks in a single probe. 7 tanks probing a hedgerow outside an insignificant French village. The Americans possessed so many tanks they could afford losing 7 in a reconnaissance engagement. Germany couldn't lose 7 Panthers in an entire week without affecting operational capacity. The mathematics Müller celebrated actually demonstrated American abundance. Intelligence dismissed the reports about American tank concentrations as exaggerated. German aerial reconnaissance, limited by Allied air superiority, provided fragmentary evidence of American buildup. Oberst Müller reviewed reports claiming the Americans were massing 750 Sherman tanks in Normandy. Impossible, Müller declared. This number exceeds rational logistics. The Americans cannot supply that many tanks through their beachhead. His staff agreed. Supplying 750 tanks required impossible logistics, fuel, ammunition, spare parts, maintenance facilities. The numbers had to be wrong. Müller accepted the intelligence estimates he believed. The Americans possessed perhaps 300 tanks across the Normandy front. His regiment of 42 Panthers could engage those forces with confidence. The mathematics supported his conclusion. What Müller didn't know was that American logistics had landed 1,300 Sherman tanks through the Normandy beaches by June 15, 1944, 1 week after D-Day. The impossible logistics were operating with industrial efficiency German command couldn't comprehend. Hauptmann Dietrich reported to headquarters at Panzer Group West with updated intelligence. Herr Oberst Müller, Allied tank concentrations exceed previous estimates. We document 1,100 Sherman tanks within 50 kilometers of Caen. Müller studied the report with disbelief. Dietrich, you're including every vehicle with tracks. These numbers represent all Allied armor, American, British, Canadian combined. Dietrich shook his head. Herr Oberst, these numbers represent only American M4 Sherman production vehicles, not including British Cromwells or Canadian units. The Americans alone possess 1,100 Shermans in this sector. Mueller rejected the estimate. Even if accurate, which I doubt, we achieve 7-to-1 kill ratios. We require 158 Panthers to counter 1,100 Shermans. We have sufficient forces. The mathematics appeared to support Mueller's confidence. Dietrich didn't mention that American Sherman production that month was 1,587 units. If Mueller destroyed 1,100 Shermans, America would replace them within 3 weeks while simultaneously building additional tanks for other theaters. The mathematics weren't in Germany's favor. They were catastrophically against them. American production statistics for May 1944 totaled 1,587 M4 Sherman tanks manufactured. German production for May 1944 totaled 269 Panther tanks and 104 Tiger tanks manufactured, combined total of 373 heavy tanks. A single American facility, the Detroit Tank Arsenal, exceeded Germany's entire monthly heavy tank production. The Ford Motor Company plant in Richmond, California, produced 489 Shermans in May 1944, exceeding German Tiger production by 385 units. The Chrysler facility in Delaware produced 378 Shermans. The Fisher Tank Arsenal in Grand Blanc, Michigan, produced 297 Shermans. The Pacific Car and Foundry Company in Renton, Washington, produced 219 Shermans. Each American facility individually exceeded German Tiger production. Combined American production exceeded German tank production by 1,214 units monthly. This production advantage accumulated daily. Every day America built 52 Sherman tanks. Every day Germany built 12 heavy tanks combined. The American advantage was 40 additional tanks daily, 280 weekly, 1,200 monthly. By June 1944, cumulative American Sherman production exceeded 30,000 units. German cumulative Panther and Tiger production combined was 2,947 units. The mathematics were not close. They were apocalyptic. They tried concentrating Panther forces for breakthrough operations. The Americans repositioned 20 Shermans for every German concentration within hours. They attempted flanking maneuvers to attack Sherman formations from advantageous positions. American tank destroyers, equipped with 9mm guns, eliminated Panthers from defensive positions. They positioned Panthers in static defensive positions, exploiting superior range and armor. American artillery devastated static positions with fire concentrations German artillery, rationed to 12 rounds daily, couldn't match. They coordinated Panther attacks with infantry support to protect flanks. American infantry, equipped with bazookas, engaged German armor from concealed positions while Shermans maneuvered. German tactics, perfected through 5 years of warfare, proved inadequate against an enemy that could lose 3 tanks, replace them overnight, and resume operations at dawn. June 17, 1944, Hill 112 south of Caen, 14:35 hours. Feldwebel Schmidt observed 11 M4 Shermans advancing across open farmland toward his prepared position. His Panther occupied a hull-down position behind an earthen berm, only the turret exposed. The range was 1,800 meters, ideal engagement distance for the 88 gun. At 1,435.21, Schmidt's gunner engaged the lead Sherman. Impact at 1,435.23. The Sherman exploded. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 2 seconds. Kill time, 2 seconds. At 1,435.39, the gunner destroyed the second Sherman. Kill time, 2 seconds. The American formation continued advancing despite losses, closing range while firing inaccurately. German doctrine called this target fixation, the American willingness to accept losses while closing to effective range. At 1,436.02, the third Sherman destroyed. Kill time, 2 seconds. The American formation split, 5 Shermans maneuvering left, 3 right. Schmidt's Panther engaged the left formation. At 1,436.28, fourth Sherman destroyed. Kill time, 2 seconds. At 1,436.47, fifth Sherman destroyed. Kill time, 2 seconds. The flanking Shermans reached 900 meters, now within their effective engagement range. They fired multiple rounds, impacting the earthen berm and ricocheting off the Panthers' frontal armor. Schmidt's gunner traversed right, engaging the flanking force. At 1,437, 11-6 Sherman destroyed. Kill time, 2 seconds. At 1,437, 35, 3 additional Shermans appeared from a tree line 600 meters north. Schmidt now faced 8 operational Shermans engaging from 2 directions. The gunner destroyed the 7th Sherman at 1,437, 58. Kill time, 2 seconds. American fire intensified, multiple 75 rounds impacting the Panther's armor, causing no penetration but obscuring vision through impact debris. At 1,438, 23 8th Sherman destroyed. Kill time, 2 seconds. The remaining 6 Shermans concentrated fire on Schmidt's position. At 1,438, 51 a 75 round penetrated the Panther's thinner side armor, disabled the transmission. Schmidt's Panther was immobilized but operational. The gunner destroyed the 9th Sherman at 1,439, 14. Kill time, 2 seconds. 4 more Shermans emerged at 1,439, 40, fresh reinforcements joining the engagement. Schmidt now faced 9 operational American tanks with his Panther immobilized. The gunner destroyed the 10th Sherman at 1,440, 02. Kill time, 2 seconds. American fire bracketed the disabled Panther, multiple impacts against turret and hull. At 1,440, 38, an American round penetrated the engine compartment, starting a fire. Schmidt ordered his crew to abandon the vehicle. They escaped at 1,441, 05. At 1,440, 27, the Panther's ammunition detonated, destroying the vehicle. Combat duration, 6 minutes, 6 seconds. German tank destroyed, 1 Panther. American tanks destroyed, 10 M4 Shermans. Kill ratio, 10, 1 in favor of the Germans. Crew casualties, 0. Schmidt's crew had inflicted disproportionate losses but lost their vehicle to an enemy that possessed 19 Shermans in this minor engagement and could replace 10 losses within a week. The engagement demonstrated the fundamental problem facing German armor. Schmidt's crew achieved a 10-1 kill ratio, exactly matching German tactical doctrine's predictions. But the Americans attacked with 19 tanks in a single engagement over a tactically insignificant hill. Schmidt destroyed 10 and lost his Panther. The remaining 9 American Shermans secured the position. Germany considered 10-1 kill ratio's victory. America considered losing 10 tanks while destroying 1 Panther and securing the objective victory. The mathematics of industrial warfare didn't favor tactical excellence. They favored replacement capacity. Schmidt and his crew survived and received a new Panther 3 weeks later. The Americans replaced their 10 destroyed Shermans within 5 days and continued operations. Hauptmann-Dietrich compiled engagement reports from Normandy's first 2 weeks. German forces documented 197 Sherman tank kills. German losses, 38 Panthers and Tigers. Kill ratio, 5-1, lower than doctrine predicted but still favorable. Dietrich presented these statistics to Oberst Müller with growing concern. Herr Oberst, we're achieving the kill ratios doctrine promises, but the Americans aren't retreating. They replace losses faster than we inflict them. Müller studied the statistics. We're winning the tactical engagements, Dietrich. 5 enemy tanks destroyed for everyone we lose proves our superiority. Dietrich gestured to additional intelligence. Herr Oberst, we've lost 38 heavy tanks. Germany produces 12 daily. We require 3 days to replace 1 day's losses. The Americans lost 197 Shermans. They produce 52 daily. They replaced these losses in 4 days while simultaneously building 104 additional tanks. Müller dismissed the concern. Quality defeats quantity, Hauptmann. This has been proven throughout military history. Dietrich departed, knowing Müller would understand only when Panzer Group West ceased to exist as a fighting force. At the Ford plant in Richmond, California, production continued unchanged by events in Normandy. Workers assembled Sherman tanks with mechanical precision unchanged by distant combat. The facility produced 17 Shermans daily, every day, without variation, without interruption. Every 85 minutes, another completed Sherman rolled off the assembly line. The production statistics Hauptmann-Dietrich compiled about American losses meant nothing to American production schedules. The 197 Shermans destroyed in Normandy through June 20 represented 3.7 days of American production. Those losses were replaced by June 24. American production continued. adding 52 new tanks daily to the replacement total. By June 30, America had manufactured 312 additional Shermans beyond replacing Normandy losses. Those 312 tanks deployed to Italy, equipped training facilities, stockpiled in Britain, and prepared for the next offensive. German production struggled to replace losses, while America exceeded losses and expanded total strength simultaneously. Americans discarded more steel scrap at the Detroit arsenal in 1 week than Germany allocated for monthly Panther armor plate production. The rejected armor plates, failed during quality testing, contained metallurgical flaws Americans refused to accept. Germans welded reinforcing plates over similar flaws. American scrap metal exceeded German production capacity. The cafeteria waste at the Ford Richmond plant included meat, butter, eggs, and fresh produce that German tank crews received as monthly rations. American workers ate abundantly, while German forces rationed increasingly. The fuel consumed in testing Sherman engines at the Chrysler facility exceeded weekly fuel allocations for German Panzer divisions. Americans tested every engine for 40 hours before installation. Germans installed engines directly from assembly, testing them in combat. The ammunition expended at American proving grounds, testing tank guns and armor penetration, exceeded monthly combat allocations for entire German Panzer armies. Americans fired thousands of rounds testing each tank design. Germans rationed tank gun ammunition to 120 rounds monthly. This single aspect of American abundance, testing ammunition, exceeded Germany's entire combat allocation. The waste wasn't inefficiency. It was the margin created by industrial abundance. At Willow Run, Michigan, June 1944. Charles Sorensen oversaw the bomber production facility that manufactured one B-24 Liberator every 63 minutes. But this facility also produced tank components, electrical systems, and fire control equipment installed in Sherman tanks. The production processes refined manufacturing steel bombers transferred directly to steel tank production. Willow Run employed 42,000 workers producing military equipment 24 hours daily. This single facility's floor space exceeded the total floor space of Germany's 3 primary tank manufacturing facilities combined. The building stretched 3,500 feet long, 1,280 feet wide, enclosed 67 acres under one roof. American industrial capacity wasn't measured in facilities. It was measured in square miles of factory floor space operating continuously. German industry, dispersed underground by Allied bombing, operated in scattered facilities connected by increasingly disrupted rail networks. American production operated in massive integrated facilities supplied by transportation networks immune to enemy interdiction. This fundamental difference in industrial security meant American production increased while German production decreased. Worker productivity at American facilities exceeded German productivity by factors of 3 to 7 depending on measurement criteria. Rose Monroe installed 847 rivets per shift, precisely meeting production quotas established through time-motion studies. German workers, increasingly exhausted by inadequate rations and continuous bombing, produced declining output. American workers, adequately fed and operating in secure facilities, maintained consistent productivity. The cafeteria at the Detroit Arsenal served 25,000 meals daily. The menu included roast beef, fried chicken, fresh vegetables, fruit, milk, and coffee. Workers received 30-minute lunch breaks with subsidized meals costing 35 cents. German workers received increasingly meager rations, with meat becoming rare by 1944. Hungry workers produced less. Fed workers produced consistently. This basic reality of industrial warfare meant American productivity increased, while German productivity stagnated. Americans threw away defective tank tracks that failed quality inspection. Each rejected track section weighed 147 pounds, represented 12 hours of manufacturing labor, and was discarded rather than installed on combat vehicles. Germany salvaged every track section, welding repairs onto damaged tracks that Americans would reject immediately. The quality control standards at American facilities rejected components that Germans would accept as serviceable. This wasn't waste. This was the industrial capacity to maintain standards Germans couldn't afford. The rejected components accumulated in scrap piles that American facilities recycled continuously. Germans melted church bells for bronze bearings. Americans rejected bronze components for microscopic flaws. This difference in manufacturing margins demonstrated the industrial gulf separating American and German production. The electrical waste from Sherman tank production, discarded wire insulation and rejected circuit boards, exceeded the total electrical components in Germany's monthly Tiger production. Americans use standardized electrical systems with interchangeable components. German electrical systems used custom components requiring specific replacement parts unavailable in forward areas. American tankers replaced electrical failures with standardized components in 30 minutes. German tankers awaited specialized parts for weeks. This maintenance advantage multiplied American numerical superiority with operational readiness Germans couldn't match. The scrap piles at American facilities contained more functioning equipment than German supply depots issued to combat units. Americans operated in abundance, so complete that waste exceeded enemy production. The aluminum waste at the Ford Richmond plant, discarded during aircraft and tank production, exceeded Germany's monthly aluminum allocation for military production. Americans machined components from solid aluminum billet, discarding 40% as shavings. Germans cast aluminum components to near-net shape, minimizing waste. American abundance permitted wasteful but efficient manufacturing processes. German scarcity required conservative processes that reduced productivity. The aluminum scrap from one American shift exceeded the aluminum used in monthly Tiger production. This single facility's waste exceeded enemy national production. Workers swept aluminum shavings into bins, recycled them, and continued manufacturing with uninterrupted abundance. Germans rationed aluminum by the gram, calculating minimum requirements for each component. Americans operated beyond scarcity's constraints entirely. Hauptmann Dietrich visited the statistical analysis section at OKW, presenting comprehensive production data. The Americans manufacture 52 Sherman tanks daily. Germany manufactures 12 heavy tanks daily. The mathematical advantage is 40 additional American tanks each day. This advantage accumulates. In 30 days, the Americans build 1,200 more tanks than we do. In 90 days, 3,600 more tanks. We cannot survive this mathematical progression. The colonel, reviewing his report, nodded slowly. Your analysis is accurate, Hauptmann, but this information changes nothing. We cannot increase production. We lack raw materials, factory capacity, and skilled labor. We fight with what we possess. Dietrich persisted. Herr Oberst, this means we must achieve 15-to-1 kill ratios just to maintain force strength and 20-to-1 ratios to reduce American numerical advantage. The colonel locked the report in his safe. Then we will achieve those ratios, Hauptmann, or we will lose. There is no third option. Dietrich departed knowing Germany faced mathematical destruction regardless of tactical performance. July 18, 1944, Operation Goodwood, east of Caen, 7:45 hours. Panzer Group West positioned 272 tanks, including 78 Panthers and Tigers, in defensive positions facing the British-Canadian sector. Intelligence estimated the Allies possessed approximately 600 tanks available for offensive operations. The estimate was wrong. The Allies attacked with 1,100 tanks and 2,200 other armored vehicles. The scale exceeded German comprehension. Oberst Müller's regiment occupied defensive positions south of Cagny, 42 Panthers distributed across a 3-kilometer front. At 0745:00, Allied artillery bombardment commenced. At 0817:00, the bombardment ended. At 0818:00, Sherman tanks emerged from smoke and dust, advancing across open fields. Müller's Panthers opened fire at maximum range. At 0818:34, 1st Sherman destroyed. At 0818:41, 2nd Sherman destroyed. At 0818:49, 3rd Sherman destroyed. The kill rate averaged 1 Sherman every 7 seconds across the regimental front. By 0825:00, German gunners had destroyed 47 Sherman and Cromwell tanks. The Allied advance continued. More tanks appeared. At 0831:00, 63 Allied tanks destroyed. The attack continued. At 0843:00, 88 Allied tanks destroyed. The advance continued without pause. German gunners achieved kill rates doctrine predicted. The Allies possessed tanks doctrine hadn't predicted. By 09:00, Müller's regiment had destroyed 114 Allied tanks. The Allies achieved breakthrough in multiple sectors. German positions, overwhelmed by sheer numbers, collapsed despite inflicting disproportionate casualties. At 0907, 15 Oberst Heinrich Müller's Panther command tank engaged 6 Sherman tanks advancing toward his position. His gunner destroyed 3 in rapid succession. At 0907, 54, a Sherman flanking from the right fired, penetrating Müller's Panther through the thinner side armor. Elapsed time from engagement to death, 39 seconds. Kill time from successful hit, 4 seconds. Müller died immediately, his faith in German technical superiority intact but irrelevant. His regiment fought for another hour before withdrawing, having destroyed 197 Allied tanks while losing 29 Panthers. Kill ratio, 6-8-1, tactical victory, strategic defeat. The Allies possessed sufficient tanks to accept 197 losses, replace them within 4 days, and resume offensive operations, while German Panzer Group West couldn't replace 29 Panthers in a month. Major Klaus Werner assumed command of the regiment after Müller's death. He compiled the after-action report documenting their tactical success. 197 enemy tanks destroyed, 29 Panthers lost. The kill ratio exceeded doctrine predictions. Werner submitted the report noting the regiment's exemplary performance under overwhelming numerical superiority. He didn't mention that the Allies achieved their operational objectives despite catastrophic tank losses. He didn't note that American tank transports were already shipping replacement Shermans to Normandy. He didn't calculate that America would replace 197 destroyed Shermans in 3.8 days of production, while Germany required 7 weeks to replace 29 Panthers. Werner documented tactical success, masking strategic defeat. The mathematics of industrial warfare made tactical excellence strategically irrelevant. Enemy aircraft destroyed, 197 Allied tanks. German losses, 29 Panther tanks. Kill ratio, 6-8-1. The ammunition expended by Müller's regiment in 3 hours exceeded Germany's monthly allocation for tank gun ammunition for an entire Panzer division. Each Panther fired an average of 27 rounds during the engagement. German monthly allocation, 120 rounds per tank. The regiment expended 22% of monthly allocation in 3 hours. The Allies expended 2,200 rounds of 75 ammunition during the same engagement, representing 0.7% of monthly allocation. American ammunition abundance permitted volume fire Germans couldn't sustain. The fuel consumed by Allied tanks during Goodwood, including the destroyed vehicles, exceeded weekly fuel allocation for German Panzer Group West. Allies operated with fuel abundance Germans couldn't comprehend. Every material aspect of the engagement demonstrated Allied superiority through industrial production. German tactical excellence became strategically meaningless against an enemy that could sustain losses indefinitely. Feldwebel Otto Schmidt survived Operation Goodwood. His Panther was knocked out by artillery fire, but his crew escaped. They received a replacement Panther 3 weeks later, returned to combat, and survived through August. Schmidt witnessed the systematic reduction of German armor strength through the Normandy campaign. His unit engaged overwhelming American forces repeatedly. They achieved kill ratios ranging from 4-1 to 9-1 across different engagements. They lost every strategic objective. Schmidt understood what Oberst Müller never accepted. Tactical excellence couldn't defeat industrial abundance. Germany could destroy 5 American tanks for every Panzer lost and still lose the war through arithmetic. Schmidt survived, was captured in the Falaise pocket, and spent 3 years as a prisoner of war contemplating the mathematics of industrial warfare. Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich survived the war. His intelligence reports, ignored by commanders focused on tactical excellence, accurately predicted Germany's destruction through mathematical attrition. In August 1944, he compiled final statistics. American Sherman production exceeded 42,000 units. German Panther and Tiger production combined, 6,557 units. The Americans produced 6.4 tanks for every German heavy tank. American factories operated in secure, expanding industrial regions. German factories operated underground, bombed continuously, supplied by disrupted rail networks. American production increased monthly. German production declined monthly. The mathematics were conclusive and had been conclusive since 1942. Dietrich's warnings, delivered faithfully for 2 years, had been ignored faithfully for 2 years. Superior intelligence couldn't change production realities. Germany entered a war against nations possessing 20 times their industrial capacity while believing tactical excellence would overcome material disadvantage. The mathematics proved otherwise. September 1945. Prisoner of War Interrogation Center, Fort Benning, Georgia. Major Klaus Werner sat across from American intelligence officers, providing testimony about German armored operations. The interrogator asked about tank production and tactical doctrine. Werner explained German tactical superiority, citing specific kill ratios achieved in Normandy. We were not defeated by better soldiers, but by better factories. At Villers-Bocage, one Tiger destroyed 25 Allied tanks. At Operation Goodwood, we achieved 6.8 to 1 kill ratios. Throughout Normandy, German armor averaged 5.2 Allied tanks destroyed for each German loss. A single American factory, the Ford plant in Richmond, produced more tanks monthly than our entire Panther production. The Detroit Arsenal produced 456 Shermans monthly. Our total heavy tank production was 269 Panthers and 104 Tigers monthly, combined. Your factories defeated our tactics. Feldwebel Otto Schmidt provided similar testimony weeks later. I saw the first engagement where we destroyed 7 Shermans in 4 minutes without losses. We believed this proved our superiority. Later, we understood it proved American abundance. They attacked with 7 tanks and a reconnaissance probe. 7 tanks for 1 hedgerow. We couldn't lose 7 Panthers in a week. They could lose 7 Shermans before breakfast and resume operations. The Americans didn't just outproduce us. They revolutionized production itself. You manufactured tanks with interchangeable parts built by semi-skilled workers. We crafted tanks with precision components built by engineering graduates. Your system produced 52 tanks daily. Our system produced 12 daily. Quality lost to quantity when quantity reached overwhelming levels. Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich, interrogated separately, provided the most comprehensive testimony. I documented American production capacity starting in 1942. Every estimate proved conservative. You eventually manufactured 49,234 Sherman tanks. We produced 6,557 Panthers and Tigers combined. The ratio was 7.5 American tanks for each German heavy tank. But the strategic impact exceeded numerical ratios. Your tanks broke down less frequently because you tested them extensively before delivery. We delivered untested tanks directly to combat units. Your standardized parts meant field repairs required minutes. Our custom components meant repairs required weeks awaiting specialized parts. Your abundance permitted extensive training. New American tank crews received months of training. New German crews received weeks. Your industrial advantage multiplied through logistics, maintenance, training, and operational readiness. We brought precision engineering to an industrial war. You brought industrial systems to industrial war. Additional testimonies provided consistent patterns. We brought swords to a mechanized war, then wondered why sword quality became irrelevant. Your excess capacity exceeded our maximum effort. We operated at absolute production limits and achieved 12 tanks daily. You operated at sustainable capacity and achieved 52 tanks daily. You could lose 1,000 Shermans monthly and replace them while building 500 additional. We couldn't lose 100 Panthers monthly without destroying our operational strength. The mathematics were crushing. Your single factory produced more than our entire industry. American workers threw away components we salvaged. Your waste exceeded our production. This wasn't inefficiency. This was abundance we couldn't comprehend. Production statistics stated by German officers. American production, 49,234 M4 Sherman tanks total. German production, 6,557 Panther and Tiger tanks combined total. Single American facility peak production, 456 Shermans monthly at Detroit Tank Arsenal. Entire German Panther production, 269 monthly in 1944. Single American facility exceeded total German heavy tank production by 187 units monthly. American daily production, 52 Sherman tanks. German daily production, 12 heavy tanks combined. American advantage, 40 additional tanks daily, 1,200 additional tanks monthly, 14,400 additional tanks annually. Cumulative advantage by 1945, unsurvivable. German tactical doctrine required 5:1 kill ratios to achieve parity. American production advantage required 7:5:1 kill ratios to achieve parity. Actual combat kill ratios averaged 5:2:1. Germany achieved tactical success while experiencing strategic destruction through mathematical attrition. The M4 Sherman proved that democratic industrial capacity, mobilized for total war, generated material abundance that overwhelmed tactical excellence. Free workers outproduced conscripted labor. Democratic cooperation exceeded authoritarian command. Industrial abundance buried ideological superiority under 49,234 Sherman tanks manufactured in American factories operating in security, while German industry operated underground avoiding Allied bombs. The production statistics weren't military secrets. They were published in American newspapers. Ford advertised their Richmond plant's output. Chrysler promoted their Detroit arsenal production. American civilians understood their factories' output exceeded enemy production. German civilians learned about production disparities through silence and scarcity. March 15, 1944. Oberst Heinrich Müller had laughed at American Sherman production claims. September 2, 1945. Müller's death, the destruction of Panzer Group West, and Germany's unconditional surrender. Their mockery became history's most industrially decisive miscalculation. Confidence in that Paderborn headquarters, where German officers dismissed American production capacity, cost 380,000 German armored personnel their lives and cost Germany the war. The mathematics weren't uncertain. American industrial capacity, mobilized completely, exceeded German production across every category: tanks, aircraft, ships, ammunition, and industrial output. Germany possessed superior individual weapon systems and superior tactical doctrine. America possessed superior factories and superior production systems. Industrial warfare favored factories over tactics. The numbers proved absolute. 49,234 Shermans defeated 6,557 German heavy tanks through mathematical certainty. German engineering excellence couldn't overcome American industrial abundance. Quality lost to quantity when quantity reached overwhelming levels, sustained by industrial capacity enemies, couldn't match, wouldn't match, and couldn't survive. The lesson remains: dismissing democratic nations as weak because they prefer peace or underestimating free people's productive capacity invites catastrophic miscalculation. Industrial warfare rewards production capacity, logistics excellence, and sustainable systems over tactical brilliance and weapon quality. Germany learned this through destruction. The American industrial system, derided by Axis powers as inefficient democracy, manufactured weapons exceeding all Axis production combined. The mockery of American industrial capacity, confident and contemptuous in March 1944, became silence and surrender by September 1945. The mathematics were always certain. The outcome was always inevitable. Industrial abundance defeated tactical excellence through simple arithmetic. 49,234 tanks versus 6,557 tanks equals absolute victory through absolute production superiority.